Oh, all right, I'm going live.
Cool.
I think we all are, actually. Oh, maybe just me. Hello, welcome back to the Technically Developers Conference. I'm Technically Managing Editor Julie Zeglin, your MC for the day. We are moving on to the next case study. This is one that I'm personally very excited about. The title is Building Wakanda, a Delaware Story. Building Tomorrow's Tech Talent Pipeline Today. This will be a series of mini case studies on project builds from a new youth dev shop, which is Code Differently, based in Delaware. So we'll start with Roger Campbell II, and he'll introduce you all to the rest of our presenters. Go ahead, Roger.
Thank you so much, Julie. So excited to be here. I'd like to apologize to everyone for the background. As you all are probably used to, I'm used to Zoom calls, and I thought I'd be able to cast a better image. So we're just going to have to operate with that. But as Julie's put so eloquently, this is Building Wakanda, a Delaware story. Today you'll be seeing, like I'd say, 3 case studies. One is overall based off of Code Differently. We in of ourselves are an organization that helps build a pipeline from high school to college to then intern the job force or somewhere else in between. Right now, you'll be seeing 2 applications that were built by our students over the summer in our Jumpstart program. The high school dev shop that runs now currently is a year-long program where students work with us in a work-based setting. So they do half of their day in the morning in class, and then the second half of the day working with us in the dev shop, learning full-stack technologies, and then in turn building projects. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. Starting off with the first presentation will be Destiny and Zoe.
Hi, I'm Destiny Rouse. Today we will be showcasing one of the apps we created through Code Differently. The app we created was called Donate Differently. It was made using React.js. Starting out, we knew that we wanted users to be able to make and accept payments. We wanted users to be able to go through different donation pages. Another important thing to have for the users was the ability to create and edit the donations they make. Lastly, users should be able to keep track of all the donations they donate to with deep linking, where they can also mass share their donation pages. And now we'll move on to Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe Jackson. I'm a high school senior, and I've been working with Code Differently for a little under a year now. As a dev shop, we had about 9 people working on our donation app. So questions came up about how we were going to keep track of our work and the versions, which added up to be about 3. Using Git, we were able to keep track of those versions and commit and add all those changes made by everyone. I can't share my screen.
Is it giving you an error?
It's just like not allowing me to share my screen. Destiny, I think we can just continue to talk.
Yeah, go ahead and keep running with it for now.
Okay. In our app, we have a couple different pages. We have a explore page where it's a recommended section made with material UI cards. These cards include an image of the donation, the charity name, the information about our donors, and the amount of money raised and the goal amount that they wish to receive. On this page, the cards have a drop down which give you 3 options. You can either donate to the charity, view the charity and its details, or delete the charity from your favorited. We also have a nav bar that allows you to go to the different pages throughout the app. We have a feed that you're able to look at. It gives you like pictures that people have made or created through the app. Hold on. And we have pages where you can basically donate to the charity. So you can share the screen now.
Okay, here's our donation app. Destiny, if you want to talk about your cards now.
Okay, so in each card, there's a title for the name of the donation. There's a description area which talks about what the donation is for. We also have a progress bar on each card that shows you the amount that has been raised throughout the time they posted their donation, and it gives you the details on how much was raised. It gives you the details of how much was raised, how much they want to raise, and how many donors have used their donation. And we can go to Zoe now.
Okay, so because this is a donation app, we knew there was gonna be some type of we knew we were gonna need some type of payment process. So the goal of the payment page was to be able to add and save payments if the user chooses to. So for this, we implemented a Stripe API into the app, which allowed us to safely accept and save those payments. So we used Stripe checkout form and then added the necessary API key. And here's a little bit of the app. And now this is not finished. And as the program continues, we hope we can add and make the changes to the app so that it can be the best it possibly can. So thank you for listening.
Wonderful job, Zoe and Destiny. Round of applause. Now, it's going to come time for Prince and I, Eric, to speak about our app, a donation app. And without further ado, I'll pass it on to Prince.
Hello, my name is Prince Adenusi, and I'm a junior software developer at Code Differently. Over the summer, we've been working on a rock, paper, scissors app. This app has the purpose to bring everybody together as one community as we go on through the rough times of quarantine. As you can see here, we have our welcome screen with our beautiful logo that says Code Differently, that when you refresh the page, it plays a friendly animation. As we go on into the welcome button, you'll be greeted with your profile picture and 4 options. Below, you'll be greeted with a donation option that if you click on it, it'll take you to PayPal where you can implement how much you want to donate to the app. We've also implemented a platform called AWS, which is a platform for authentication widely used to safely input info for users into a database hosted by Amazon. Now, as we go into the gameplay, you can see that you can see your hand and the robot's hand. On the bottom, there are icons in which you can choose from rock to paper to scissors. The buttons can be a little wonky, but we still are in development with it. So on the bottom, there is a option to play your hand. And as you can see here, it is a tie. But if you were to have chosen scissors, you would have won. Above, you can see a scoreboard with a friendly animation on top that also keeps track of your wins and your losses. And here I will pass it on to Eric to explain the code.
Thank you, Prince. As it was stated earlier, our sole goal and mission for this app was to bring individuals together even while being apart during these hard times of COVID-19. There's this process, and it's very hard on individuals, on students, and even adults now in time. Due to social distancing, communication skills have been lost, and there's just not that balance anymore of individual with individual. Social distancing has created a concern where we can't even play a simple game of rock, paper, scissors among us. And with that in mind, we took that into consideration and saw how something that we can do in real life can be applied and coded. And if you think about it for a second, what's the game of rock, paper, scissors? It's a game solely of if-else statements. If this, then that. Now, when I began this program, I didn't know a single line of code. You could tell me HTML and whatnot, I was just lost. I was lost in the clouds. But it wasn't until time progressed and I started getting used to the patterns and seeing the patterns in this code that I started getting a grounds up on it. Now, referring back to the game of rock, paper, scissors, here's the code that allowed for this whole screen to be able to happen. Now, the first if statement, if player 1 chooses paper and the computer chooses paper, then we want those actions to return a tie. And as you saw, it did return a tie. Now, we want those same actions to occur for every single occasion that may render a tie. That's when the rock and scissors and the same components for those came together. Else if that doesn't happen, then we want player 1. If the player chooses rock and the computer chooses scissors, then we know who wins, player 1. And we want those same actions to have happen for paper and scissors that render the winner of the match. And then if none of that happens, think about it. When you play with a friend, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. If neither I win or they win, it's a tie. And that's where it returned is a tie because it automatically knew, okay, player 1 didn't win and the computer didn't win. So it has to be a tie. There's no other option. And with that in mind, that then correlated back to the scoreboard as the scoreboard already knew based on the code we gave it that no one won. So it wasn't going to increase anything. And here's where you can see it. Increment is what we stated as that would be the component that would be allowed to increment the game board. From that, let player counter, count the player, see what's happening, and then this dot state player, which is basically stating state and put on the scoreboard what's happening. And then if the player has won, use a function of player counter, and from there on, print that, and then add 1 to it for every time the player wins. And the same concept applied to the computer. Now, for this, there was a lot of planning. There was planning whether it be communicating through email or through Slack, and following the basics of Scrum, which is a highly used working environment and place of how developers actually code day by day and assign each other assignments. For example, in this app, we had 9 people, and from there on, we each had to hold each other accountable and see our progress that we were each making. And the problems and challenges that we most faced was in the creation process due to our first 4 launches, I believe, not meeting UI and UX requirements, which are user interface and user exchange requirements required by iPhone and Android for your app to be honored in their Google Play Store and in their App Store. Thank you all. And now I would like to pass it back to Mr. Roger.
Thank you so much to the 2 groups for presenting. First and foremost, I'm blown away. Y'all did amazing. I'm so proud of you. This is just a small taste of what taking the time to work with our youth can do. As you can see from these 2 presentations, given the ability to write lines of code has given these youths the ability to build applications that can help. Something as simple as a rock and paper scissors shoot game that you now feel ostracized, that you can no longer play with each other. The innovation of these youths allow this to now be built and in turn to be utilized by them and their peers in order to connect with each other, to bring back a semblance of regularity. The donation app was something that came from, again, our summer youth program too, and that was sparked by this need for the students to feel like they could help. One of the things they kept asking us was, what can we do in order to help people get through this time? What better idea than to try to make a donation app built by students to help other students and other people? And this ties into the case study of Code Differently. What does it do when we start to empower people, not only when they're adults, but as youths, as high school students, as college students, even down to the middle school age? What will that allow us to be able to then make changes for? Because as you can see, these students are some of the ones who are mostly affected by COVID. Their whole lives have been turned upside down, where you and I might be able to work remotely. Their whole world of knowing has changed, from being able to hang out with their friends, from being able to go to school, from being able to play sports. By empowering them and giving them the ability to make solutions, look what can happen. So I would like to open the floor. I know that there was a bit for Q&A, and it seems like there's a lot of great response. I wanted to know if anyone had questions for the students or I that we might be able to help answer. Okay. Well, I'm going to let that continue to go. One thing I did want to, oh, perfect. Oh, here they come. What other apps are in the pipeline? Well, right now, the students are focused on a learning phase. So in the summer, as I said, it was a Jumpstart program. So at that, we introduced them to HTML, JavaScript, and a little bit of React. So right now, they're taking the next couple of weeks and are actually going to be learning more in depth about those languages that they focused on in the summer. Once they finish that phase, we've actually started partnering with businesses to send us proof of concept projects. And we ask that these companies will send us ideas that these students might be able to work on to be able to build their portfolio. And we're also going to allow them the opportunity to be able to pitch some ideas themselves for us to build in the dev shop. That will start to happen probably in the early spring. So after they get back from their holiday break over December. I'll pitch this one to the students. What's your favorite language? Someone asked.
Prince, Destiny, are you guys okay with me going first? Or nope, okay. Favorite language? I would right now say JavaScript. Solely because we solely built this on React and utilizing JSX, which is kind of a mixture. The way I saw JSX was if HTML and JavaScript had a baby and that was the language that came out. That's how I saw it. And that's how I pictured it in my mind. And from there on, it was just the sole purpose of continuing to study and like fall in love with a language or even coding in general. And right now, JavaScript is like one of the highest and most payable languages right now. So it's another reason why it's my favorite, because solely my parents didn't graduate middle school. So with that in mind, I had to be the one in my family to like be an example to my little brothers. And from there on, just getting into code and getting into JavaScript and all the other languages available just inspired me to continue on post-secondary education and just moving on.
Awesome. Did anybody else want to answer what their favorite language might be?
For me, I don't necessarily have like a favorite language. I'm like, I like them all. I've learned so many languages since I've been with the program, probably the longest out of us all, about like maybe a year and a half now. I really do just enjoy coding in general, so I don't necessarily have a favorite language that I like.
As for me, my favorite languages are HTML, CSS. The reason being, I like the idea of having to format something and then, putting a little bit of style into it. Because for me as an artist, I like to draw. So, there's a sketching component and then, the inking process and then, all the coloring and shading stuff. So I think it was a very good experience for me to learn HTML and CSS as it does complement my persona.
Another question that was asked is, were there any specific technical challenges you confronted, worked through that you'd like to share on either of the apps? I'd imagine that they're asking about. So any technical issues or bugs that were faced that you were able to overcome?
I would have to say that a technical issue that I really had was probably like pulling others like code and pushing my code, because you can get that conflict, and if you don't know what the other person has changed in their code, it's harder to make sure your code is aligned correctly. So that would probably be the biggest, especially with such a big group of people, and not us. Well, some of us not communicating well with what we added to our code. It was harder for us to push and pull our content.
And basing off of what Destiny said, that a bigger issue then came when it came time to implementing AWS Cognito and AWS authentication into our app, because at those points we had a lot of bugs and a lot of issues. We came to the point where I believe we almost broke our code, and it was very frustrating for the group at that time, because all this time you spent working on the project, and then one feature you want to add, the authentication part, which is very important, all of a sudden it throws all these issues at you, and you're just like trying to dodge them as much as possible. But at the end, it was only through the hard work of like each group member that, and the communication at those points, our communication skills were getting better between each other due to like this new social distancing and how we had to determine and come to the new environment of working as a developer. So yeah, that to me was the hardest issue in the rock paper scissors game, implementing the AWS Cognito and the AWS authentication into our app.
There was one other question that I saw. I think this one was more directed towards me, is how can someone get connected with our organization? I did drop my email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. We're always looking for assistance. We have volunteering opportunities for engineers who maybe want to come in and speak to the group. I want to also let you know that these students, they are operating within a real, true live dev shop. Like I said, we broke it down into 2 phases, 2 different types of programs. Right now, they're more so focused on learning, but in the second half, they will be utilizing technologies such as continuing with React, more JavaScript, Python, Django, and they use GitHub, as I dropped a couple of the apps links there for you to be able to check out the repositories too. So any feedback you all can give would be great for the organization. We would love for you all to reach out and just continue to offer support. Individually, another question just came in. Individually, what are each of your dream projects presently?
Would anyone like to go first, or I can start it off?
I'll go.
Okay.
So, about like back 2 years ago, I wanted to make my own website for my own clothing brand that I still have, ideas for and such. So, going back to when I said that HTML and CSS was, one of my favorite, or 2 of my favorite languages, I did plan to utilize those and create the website. Obviously, well, yeah, I'm going to use some JavaScript in there, because what's a website without functionality?
I'll go next. So currently, I enrolled to compete in the Congressional App Challenge, which is a national competition for students who are in depth into coding and have the ability to build their own app. Right now, I'm building a React web app based on the knowledge I got so far in this program. And so that escalated me into joining the competition. Currently, I'm on the basis of working on one feature, which is the time management feature. The sole purpose of this app is to help students manage their time and connect with their friends and their community overall. Because if I back up on my little brothers, I see how bad they struggle trying to manage their time. They're just in elementary school, and then that then push pressures on me, because I have to make sure that they're going on into their courses online, that they're going on to the right courses, doing the right work. So at the end, this is my dream app, the one I'm currently building for this competition. And if all goes well, hopefully I win.
For me, I don't have a dream project that I want to do. I kind of just want to continue to learn coding in all aspects, Angular, any type of program language that I can get my hands on. I would love to learn it. It's just a dream of mine to continue on with software development once I get older. It's a great dream. I really do love it. So, yeah.
And I believe that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for the questions and attending. We at Code Differently are very much so appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you. And again, congratulations to the students.